My dear students, I welcome all of you for today's session on design and analysis of algorithms. In this session, let me summarize divide and conquer technique, divide and conquer strategy. I mean to say, we are at the end of discussing divide and conquer strategy. Got it? So, when I initiated divide and conquer strategy, I've given you an overview of divide and conquer strategy, right? And we have seen what methodology that have been adopted by this strategy. Got it? Uh, Also, we had a discussion about general divide and conquer algorithm. I mean, it's a generic algorithm for divide and conquer strategy. Clear? So, to analyze any problem for which I given a solution through divide and conquer strategy, okay, we had discussion about Master's theorem, right? So using Master's theorem, easily we can analyze the efficiency of any algorithm for which the solution is based on divide and conquer strategy. So then we had a discussion about a few important problems based on divide and conquer strategy, right? So among those problems, okay, I mean to say we had a discussion about binary search, clear? And we have taken an example of some n numbers, got it? And we are discussed about how to locate whether a particular element exists in that array or not. And what about the time complexity, max time, okay, is going to consume. Okay, what about the complexity in best case? Means also we had a discussion what is best case input for binary search. Clear? So what about worst case input for binary search? What about average case? Okay. After binary search, I had a discussion about straight max min problem. Max min problem. Clear? Means a brute force approach we call straight max min, and to overcome the efficiency, the overcome the lack in efficiency of a straight max min, I have suggested you a divide and conquer strategy. We had a discussion about max min problem too. Got it? Then we had a discussion about merge sort. Got it? So I said merge sort as a perfect example for divide and conquer strategy. Clear? Then after discussing at the end of merge sort, we have analyzed the efficiency of merge sort. Clear? So later, after merge sort, we had a discussion about uh, quick sort. Clear? We have we have analyzed even quick sort too. Got it? Okay. And apart from merge sort, quick sort, even we had a discussion about Strasson's matrix multiplication. Clear? See, I mean, an brute force approach for matrix multiplication, we have seen complexity to be cubic. Clear? But using divide and conquer strategy, that is Strasson's matrix multiplication, we found complexity to be n power 2.8 something, means less than cubic. Okay, so these are the problems we had discussed using divide and conquer strategy. So now in this session, we will see what about the advantages and disadvantages of divide and conquer. So coming to agenda of the session, okay. First, we'll see advantages of divide and conquer. Okay, so you have come across several problems, right? You have come across several problems, important problem types, and we have seen solution based on divide and conquer strategy. Also, prior to that, okay, you had a solution based on brute force strategy also for similar problems. Now, in your mind, okay, you might have come about the difference between those brute force approach and divide and conquer approach. I mean, you might have wondered about the advantages, okay, of divide and conquer, when compared to brute force approach. So let me view those advantages. So of course, when I say divide and conquer may be the best, but there may be some limitations too. Okay, and, I mean there might be some disadvantages in divide and conquer strategy. Got it? So what is that limitation? Let me have a look at that limitation. Got it? Means of course divide and conquer is the best strategy, but there might be some limitation which may not be compromised. Got it? So sometimes we need to work on those limitations. Got it? So we need to look for some other strategy which might overcome that limitations. We'll see later. Got it? So at the end, I will summarize all problem types we have discussed using the divide and conquer strategy. Means not in detail. Let me take very important problems among of 5 to 6 problems we have discussed. Got it? And in those problems, let's review the efficiency. Okay, best, worst, and average case. And for what type of input those algorithms will have max time, min time. We'll see. Okay, I mean to say in general, what is best case input, worst case input, average case input. We'll have a discussion. Got it? So now coming to advantages. See, the first and foremost advantage of divide and conquer strategy is solving difficult problems. See, what it means solving difficult problems. I mean, you are given a problem which is very lengthy, whose problem instance is very lengthy. Okay, I mean, suppose I've asked you to determine the sum of a million numbers. I'll give you some million numbers and I'll ask you to determine the sum of all those million numbers. Is it possible for you to determine? Means adding first 2 numbers, then for the temper result adding third number, then for the new temper result adding fourth number. Can you do this? So what happens? Of course, the solution is very simple. Brute force solution is very simple. Add first 2. For the temper result, add third. Again, for the new temper result, add fourth. This is very simple. But what about complexity? It's a long time-consuming solution. Got it? It's a very time-consuming problem. So such problem is so one problem instance is very small. What we can one problem instance is very large. What we can do, rather than an individual summing all a million numbers, let me divide those million numbers into some n individuals. Got it? So let n individuals compute sum of their part. Got it? And let them return their sum. Later, we can sum the results of individuals, which gives answer for the final problem, answer for the original problem. Got it? Clear? So solving difficult problems means whenever the problems instance is very large, I mean, if a brute force strategy seems to be a time consumer, got it? So we will divide that problem into several subproblems. Almost all subproblems will be with the same size. Okay. Then what we'll do? All subproblems will be solved parallelly. Means at the same time. So speed up in solving. Finally, the solution of all the subproblems will be merged, will be combined, will be conquered to get answer for the main problem. Got it? So now one more advantage is algorithm efficiency. So efficiency, got it? Let me take you an example for sorting problem itself. Okay. See, in sorting problem, okay, prior you came to know about divide and conquer strategy. What used to you how you used to sort using brute force strategy? Means you might have applied bubble sort, or you might have applied selection sort. Got it? For sorting problem, prior to knowing divide and conquer strategy, okay, you would have applied brute force strategy. I mean, I would have applied selection sort or bubble sort. Okay, so we know the efficiency of selection sort or bubble sort is quadratic. Clear? It's quadratic. So now, after coming to know divide and conquer strategy, after we have learned divide and conquer strategy, okay, we have seen merge sort, quick sort, okay, is very faster than bubble sort and selection sort. I mean, the efficiency of a merge sort, quick sort we found to be n log n. Got it? To be n log n means it's very faster than quadratic. Yeah. So for brute force strategies like bubble sort, selection sort, efficiency is quadratic, but efficiency for sorting algorithms based on divide and conquer strategy will be n log n. Okay, and when I say it's an n log n, don't get confused. Okay, I need to there's some remark. Okay, in quick sort. In quick sort, what I say, listen cautiously. There's a remark in quick sort. Of course, I said quick sort efficiency is n log n, right? But the remark on quick sort is that if you give already sorted array, either in increasing order or in decreasing order, already if an input to quick sort is already a sorted one, then in that case, quick sort takes quadratic time to sort. Okay, this is one point you need to know about quick sort. This is a drawback of quick sort. Okay, I repeat, in quick sort, okay, for example, if you give an already sorted array, got it, as an input, in that case quick sort is going to take a quadratic. Got it? So I mean, in worst case, the efficiency of quick sort is similar to the efficiency of bubble sorts and selection sort. Okay, so this is one remark about quick sort. But usually we never sort already sorted. We never try to sort an already sorted array, right? So there is no question. Probably there is no question of giving an already sorted array as an input. Got it? Clear? There is no question of giving already sorted array as an input to any sorting algorithm. Got it? We are going to sort which is unsorted. Clear? So I think you guys have got about first two advantages, right? Solving difficult problem is one instance is very large, divide problem into sub problems. Okay, each sub problems with almost same solve individual sub problems at a time, parallel. Combine the solutions of individual sub problems. You will get answer for main problem. Got it? So algorithm efficiency, I said, right? For the brute force strategy like bubble sort, selection sort, it's quadratic. Okay, whereas divide and conquer strategy say merge sort or quick sort. And average, okay, it's n log n. So not only about sorting. Okay, suppose if we take searching problems. Okay, so in brute force strategy, okay, we'll miss. I mean to say, if you are not taught about binary search, if you are not taught about binary search, okay, so and if you are given an array and you are asked to search for one particular element in array, what you have done? You used to start comparing from first to last until a match finds or no element matches. Got it? I mean to say, if you are not taught binary search and you watched find whether key element exists in array or not. So what approach you will do? What strategy you will follow? You will compare key with first element. If if a match occurs, you will return success. If mismatch occurs, you will compare with second. Got it? So this process repeats until match occurs, or else a key is compared with all elements in an array. Got it? So I mean that brute force strategy we will call a sequential search or linear search. Okay, so the efficiency of sequential search or linear search, the name itself says it's an linear. Got it? It's a see, for searching problem, brute force strategy, that is sequential search, is linear one. Whereas I taught you this binary search, right? So in binary search, we are seeing even in the worst case, okay, number of times basic operation executes. That is, number of times comparison executes is not more than log n. I mean, in worst case too, the efficiency of binary search is log n, which says that binary search is faster, is more efficient than sequential search. Got it? So the next advantage is parallelism. So what actually parallelism? See, I said when a problem is with larger instance, we'll divide that problem into sub-problems with a smaller instance. Got it? All sub-problems, what I'll do, I will solve parallelly. Parallelly means at the same time, all sub-problems will be solved. Got it? So solving all the sub-problems at the same time increases the speed of execution. So that is parallelism. So now, memory access. So memory access, I mean to say, see here, divide and conquer strategy, right? What it does problem to several sub-problems. One thing, okay, you might observe that in some cases, sub-problems might have been repeated. Got it? I mean, a problem got divided into two sub-problems. Okay, when these two sub-problems again gets divided further, okay, the part of their sub-problems, the part of a sub-problem on the part of, I mean, sub-problem of one sub-problem might be similar to sub-problem of some other sub-problem. Got it? So I mean to say, sub-problems might have been repeated. So in that case, let one sub-problem might have been solved, and the solution might be in cache memory. Got it? It's one sub-problem might have been solved, and its solution will be in cache memory. So next time, if this sub-problem need to be solved, already there is a solution from cache, stored in cache memory. So that the solution can be accessed rather than solving the one more sub-problem, duplicate sub-problem. Got it? So memory access means faster in accessing the memory. Clear? So memory access means divide and conquer strategy. When a problem with larger instance will be divided into sub-problems, few sub-problems might have been repeated. In that case, memory access will be faster. Got it? So now coming to disadvantages of divide and conquer strategy. Okay. So see, I used to tell you divide and conquer strategy is the faster one, right? Is the fastest algorithm than brute force strategy, right? This was, I used to tell you, divide and conquer is very fast. But here, when I look at the first disadvantage, I've stated here as the recursion is low. So, what is recursion? See, you have seen, right? How I'm going to implement divide and conquer algorithm? Divide and how I'm going to design. Implementation means like coding part. Okay, platform dependent, language dependent. That is implementation. Means I am implementing for a C language, or I am implementing for Java. I should not say that. So when I design an algorithm, okay, how divide and conquer strategy, we have seen generic divide and conquer strategy algorithm, right? So algorithm is designed as a recursive algorithm. Algorithm is designed as a recursive algorithm. So what happens recursive algorithm is there comes a stack, roll of stack. Okay. Means when suppose for the first time when a function, when an algorithm is invoked, okay, what happens? Some data need to be stored in a stack. Okay, what data may be about local parameters, arguments passed. Okay, some data will be there that will be stored in stack. So again, what means whenever I call say recursion, there comes a role of stack. So next, this data set, the present data, okay, has been stored in a stack. So next, when this algorithm keeps on gets executed, there is a further invocation of the same algorithm. Further invocation of the same algorithm. I mean, algorithm invokes itself. So when the algorithm invokes itself, again the new data need to be stored in stack. I mean, new data need to be stored in stack along with the returning address. So the second invocation, what happens when it gets executed? Okay, it invokes the same algorithm again with some other new parameters. Again, a stack comes into role, means the new data, new returning address again need to be stored into stack. Okay, I mean, there will then finally when there is no more further invocation, means solution for that particular subproblem has been obtained. Now, what happens? Those data that have been stored in the stack, okay, need to be popped, need to be removed. Means what happens at each invocation and at each invocation, data need to be pushed into the stack, and at the end of execution of that algorithm, okay, okay, for each invocation, okay. I repeat, on each invocation, data need to be stored into stack. When algorithm got executed without further invocation, so data need to be removed from the stack. Okay, so data need to be pushed into stack, data need to be popped into the stack from the stack. Okay, it's a time consumption. So recursion is always slow. Got it? And one more disadvantage I said, right? That the problem is broken into sub-problems. The same sub-problem can occur many times. If I'm not going to take an advantage of memory cache, what happens? Okay, so if you will design an algorithm such a way that even though there are many sub-problems which are duplicates of each other, they are going to solve it individually. So this is one more drawback. I think all of you got about disadvantages, right? One is slower because it is divide and conquer strategy is designed as recursive algorithm. When I call recursive algorithm, there is a role of stack. Data need to be pushed into the stack. Data need to be popped from the stack. Okay, so recursion is slow. And the second disadvantage is that I divide a problem into sub-problems. Sub-problems might have been repeated without knowing that sub-problems might be repeated. Uh, those sub-problems might be solved individually. Means same sub-problem will be solved again and again. It's a waste of time. Clear? So now, in general, let me summarize. We have seen the advantage, disadvantage, right? Let me summarize divide and conquer. Okay, this is the first point. Just now I told again and again. It's a repeated one. Okay, repeated point. Okay, so coming see running time. You know, right? Divide and the time complexity of divide and conquer will be of the form P of n equals a P of n by b plus f of n. It's a recurrence relation. And to analyze efficiency, we can take advantage of master's theorem. Now, coming to binary search. Yeah. So just a review of binary search. Okay. Well, some. So listen here. All of you listen cautiously. Now assume, okay, in your for your internal or for your main exam, okay, you are given an array with this 14 elements. You might have given an array with this 14 elements. What are those 14 elements? Minus 15, minus 6, 0, 7, 9, and the last one is 151. Okay. Now, you will be asked, apply binary search for this array. Got it? And tell me how many comparisons are required to locate an element 112, 112. Got it? You will be asked how many comparisons are required to locate an element 112. Also, how many comparisons are required to locate an element 7? Got it? So, what you should do, I said, right? Uh, if you have forgotten, okay, just listen it carefully. So, in case of binary search, it's very easy. If you are given a problem on binary search, solving that problem means finding the solutions very easier. First, you construct a binary decision tree as shown in the slide. Okay. The question consists only that array. Okay, this is the solution part. So first, you construct binary decision. So in a given array, the low index is 0, high index is 13. So what is the mate? 0 plus 13 by 2, that is 6.5. We'll take 6. Got it? So left side of 6, there's one sub problem with the range of indices 0 to 5. Okay, of this mid is 2. So I made 2 as left node of left child node of node 6. Similarly, at the right side, the range of indices is 7 to 13. Of this mid is 10. So, you similarly, okay, after 2 at see, consider the level 2, okay. So level 1 I call root node is level 0, node 6 at level 0. Got it? Nodes 2 and 10 are at level 1. Okay. Nodes 2 and 10 are at level 1. Now, when I look at node 2, look at index 2. From at index 2, the left array is with 2 elements 0 and 1. So mid will be 0 because 0 plus 1 by 2 is 0.5. We will consider 0. Then between 0 and 2, there is 1, right? Between the index, between indices 0 and 2, there is only one index, that is 1. So at level 3, okay, level 3, I will look at level 3 cautiously. So I need to place node 1 such that node 1 should seem to be lying in between node 0 and node 2, correct? See, I will look at level 3, okay. I feel circular node 1 is between node 0 and 2. Similarly, I feel circular node 3 is between node 2 and 4. Similarly, I feel circular node 5 is between 4 and 6. Means you need to construct decision tree in this manner. Got it? So if you observe node 7 is in between 6 and 8. If you observe node 9 is between 8 and 10. If you observe node 11, it's between 10 and 12. Got it? If you observe node 13, it's after 12. Got it? So now, those rectangular node represents what? Unsuccessful elements. You remember, right? I taught in binary search. So now, first you construct binary decision tree like this. So after constructing binary decision tree, now whatever I've been asked to you, everything you can answer within a second, or within a second or 2 seconds. Okay. For example, what I told, how many comparisons to look at an element? 112. So in array, look at index of 112. What is an index of 112? It's 9. So now, got it? What is an index of 112? It's 9. Got it? So now in binary decision tree, you travel from node root node, that is 6, to node 9. Okay, I repeat. Now in binary decision tree, okay, now in binary decision tree, you travel from root node, that is 6, okay, to node 9. Okay, and so when I traverse from root node 6 to node 9, I will what are nodes I will encounter? 6, 10, 8, 9. Clear? So total how many nodes I have encountered? 4 nodes. Means There are 4 comparisons to locate an element 112. Clear with this? So similarly, how many comparisons are required to locate an element 7? Got it. So what is an index of element 7? It's 3. So you traverse a binary decision tree from root node to node 3. Got it. So what are nodes I will encounter? 6, 2, 4, 3. So total how many nodes I've encountered when I traverse from root node to node 3? 4. So it means 4 comparisons are required to locate an element 7. Got it. It's very simple, right? Okay. Okay, suppose let me say I want to locate an element 160. So 160 is not existing, right? It's not existing. 160 is not existing. So 160 if exists where it will after the last element, that is after element 151. I means if exist after index 13, it will exist. So this last rectangular node, okay, that is the right node of node 13. Okay, that represents all indices after 13, might be 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I mean if 160 exists, it will exist as a right, it will exist in the right subtree. It will exist in the right subtree of node 13. Clear? Got it. So the last rectangular node represents existence of 160 if it is present in an array. Got it. So but it is not present, right? So now you need to traverse from root node 6 to this last rectangular node. While traversing, how many circular nodes you will encounter? Not rectangular nodes. How many circular nodes you will encounter? You will encounter 4. That is 6, 10, 12, 13. So 4 comparisons are required to conclude an element 160 doesn't exist in an array. Clear? So best case we have discussed is the mid element. Okay. Suppose I want to search for mid element. I mean, in this case, suppose if I want to search an element 54, okay, index is 6. I need to traverse from root node to itself, means only one node in the traversal, means one comparison. So best case mid element to be searched. Okay. Worst case, average case, we have seen it's a logarithm, right? We had a discussion, we had a detailed discussion while we have discussed binary. Clear? So so always remember the efficiency of binary search is always logarithmic. Got it? In case of best case, it is 1. Now, merge sort. Let me review merge sort. Summarize merge sort. Okay, merge sort, you know, right? This is about first is a perfect example for divide and conquer strategy. First array was containing how many elements? 8. Then this got divided into 2 subarrays, each of 4 elements. Again, they got divided into two subarrays, each of 2 elements. Finally, at the last, all those 4 subarrays got divided into 2 subarrays, each of with 1 element. Got it? So array with 1 element, I said already sorted, right? So they are nothing but solution. Okay, they are nothing but solution. Now what happens? A merge space happens. Got it? So I told you how to merge, right? So you know, right? So for example, consider the level which is last second level. In last second level, okay, there are 2 subarrays. One array containing 2, 3, 8, 9. The other array containing 1, 4, 5, 7. So this last but one, okay, level contains 2 subarrays, and those 2 subarrays are sorted. They are nothing but solutions for the solution for the arrays, sub-arrays which are at level 1. Got it? So those 2 sorted arrays I can merge. So merging, how to merge, I taught in class. Sorry, I taught in while discussing merge sort. Got it? So while merging, okay, There are n plus one comparison while merging. Okay, I mean, okay, let me consider best case. So best case means what it says exactly problem gets divided. Okay, at top. Of course, we have seen in Massart a problem is getting divided into half. Means given problem is with size n means I have two sub problems with size n by 2. Clear? So recurrence relation C of n equals 2 C of n by 2. Got it? I mean, a problem with size n, it gets divided into two subproblems, each with size n by 2. So then, as solution for that, assume later what I should do. I should merge the solutions of those two subproblems. Okay. So how many comparisons in merge? We don't know. Let me call in general C merge of n. Okay. Number of comparisons C merge of. So I want to tell you, while merging now, the number of comparison never exceeds n minus 1. Number of comparisons in case of merge never exceeds n minus 1. Okay, so C merge of n, what I can call big O of n. Okay, so C of n becomes what? C of n equals 2 C of n by 2 plus big O of n. Got it? Take advantage of master step. You will find C of n equals big O of n log. No, this is about best and average case. What about the worst case? Okay. So I told you, right, in previous session, you make an attempt of merging these two subarrays, subarray 1, subarray 2. Got it? So when you merge, you will find exactly n minus 1 comparison is going to take place. I repeat, you take a sheet of paper, you merge these two sorted subarrays, subarray 1 and subarray 2. Okay, and you will find exactly n minus 1 comparisons while merging. So here C merge of n is big theta of n because it's an exact n minus 1 comparison. Got it? It's a big theta of n. In previous case, why I will written big O of n? Because, okay, their maximum n minus 1 comparisons are going to take place on an average case, I said. So big O of n. But in worst case, it's big theta of n. Okay, because in worst case, exactly n minus 1 comparison is going to take place. Okay, you can check it. You can justify yourself by merging these two subarrays, subarray 1, subarray 2. Okay, for best and average case, you try to merge the two subarrays at the last but one level. Okay, you will see they're less than n minus 1 comparison because that is average. Okay, this is an example for worst case. Okay, so in worst case, it's a big theta of n log. Now coming to quicksort, okay, it's very important you construct a tree of recursive calls. So this quicksort I have explained to you in previous session. Okay, so initially we have an array with 8 elements, so low index is 0, high index is 7. Initially partition occurred at index 4. Okay, so that in that first in each node there is a second second row as shown s equals to 4. Okay, low equal to 0, I equal to 7, partition index at 4. So again, when I now at the left of this, okay, look at two subproblems what I got. Low equal to 0, I is what? 3. And the second subproblem, low is 5, I is 7. So when I try to apply quicksort, okay, in both the cases, in first for the subproblem partition occurs at 1, so s equals 1. Whereas in the second subproblem partition occurs at 6, so s equals 6. This we need to construct we call tree of recursive calls for quicksort. Okay, then we have another deficiency. In best case, average case, it's n log n. Worst case input for quicksort is already sorted array. Already sorted array, it takes quadratic time. Got it? So this is about today's session.